Good morning. Good morning, everyone. And it's just fantastic to have you here today, our industry partners, our colleagues from the university, and everyone who are interested in working with our students to ensure their future successes. Welcome to the 2025 UNSW Employability Summit. My name is Esmond Isguera. I'm the head of employability at the university, and I have the pleasure of being your MC for this morning. We have an insightful program ahead with thought-provoking discussions on the future of skills, employability, and industry collaboration. To start our event, I'm honored to welcome Raymond Wetherill from the Metropolitan Local Aboriginal Land Council to provide Welcome to Country.
It's okay, I usually wait until people clap me out the door. And I quicken the stride or lengthen it. Look, first I'll dispel two myths, I always do. Eddie Dingo didn't invent the Welcome to Country or the spoken ceremony 30 years ago in WA. Now, it was the first time that it was shared with people, you see, so for us as Aboriginal people, we had, you couldn't go onto somebody else's land without being welcomed. It's like me coming to your front door and just walking straight into the house. It's unacceptable. I'm sure you'd bring the police too, but anyway. You know, it's about a symbiotic relationship that we live with each other, the land and everything within it, where you benefit each other from the relationship that you have, not only with each other, with the land and everything that is held within it. You know, so for me to come here and speak on somebody else's land, to conduct a welcome, you know, it's an honour and a privilege, you know, and obviously the Gadigal elders, they can't be everywhere all at once, so they've given us permission to do this on their behalf, you know, and, you know, the Metropolitan Local Aboriginal Land Council was started in 1983 under the New South Wales Land Rights Act. So I like to give people a tiny bit of history of myself. I'm already late, so I'll talk fast and we'll get it done real quick. Because you were talking about supervision before, so I've got to go to the Education Centre Against Violence, where I will supervise two young men who are getting a degree in their associate diploma in trauma counselling. So for me, I was born in Colominabri. It's a very small town, 350 people, you know, on the Barwon River, northwest New South Wales. Back in 1971, you know, my parents' vintage year, I might add, they made a conscious decision to come to Sydney, you know, for an education. You know, there's not a lot of infrastructure there at all, you know, still today, in 2025, where it's mainly agribusiness, wheat and cotton and other things. So we moved to Redfern, where there was a social upheaval, you know, within the community where services were needed. And that was with the ALS and the Aboriginal Medical Service, most importantly, you know. So my mother was involved in all of that. You know, she grew up in a time where her mother was a domestic and travelled off the mission in Moree every day and came home. You know, so she was very driven. So when we got here, she actually went to Milperra College and got a degree in social welfare. Started working for the Aboriginal Children's Service, where Koori Radio is now. It used to be the Black Theatre there, you know, so we lived next door in a hostel. My parents ran it at the time, and she sort of went from there to the Department of Aboriginal Affairs, where they wrote up that act, you know, in 1983. And the CEO at Metro Land Council, Nathan Moran, his mother worked there at the same time. So we have generational relationships where his daughter and my daughter play rugby league together, you know, so they look at each other as cousins, you know, not as friends, you know, and sisters. So if you look at Yvonne Weldon, where she works at, you know, on the City of Sydney Council, on her wall she has a photo of her Uncle Paul, and me and her are standing beside him at Town Hall back in, we used to call it A-Day back in the day, Aboriginal Day. It was during NAIDOC week on the Friday. You know, and sort of everybody got masked from Regent Street, Redfern, near the Black Theatre, and then they'd end up in Town Hall, you know. So her mum and my mum, they worked at the Aboriginal Children's Service, and sort of we all knew each other as children and as adults now, you know. So we think of those interconnected relationships will help to empower our children, you know, and those outside of ourselves. You know, and obviously, further education in uni in New South Wales. I have two cousins who actually come down here because they talk about plants on our country where the benefits of going home to your own country, eating our foods, how it impacts your life when you come back to the city. So I've been going out there sort of to the uni in New South Wales for the last 12 months now, and obviously I don't walk out there with a placard or anything saying I'm here, to do that. You sort of do those things so that you can do that research so that way, you can use it in medicinal stuff as well, with what we used to eat, and I don't know if your taste buds, when you taste food, that you haven't tasted for generations, it does things to you, to your spirit, and you're sort of a bush banana that wasn't eaten for 2 generations. We ate that 3 years ago out there, and if you get a green banana, they're quite bitter and dry, so that's how they taste, but sort of it's a transformative effect. So I just did a smoking up the street. That's why I was a tad late. I mean, you give me a microphone and I'll talk for 3 hours, but I won't do that today, I promise. But I sort of use sandalwood there, where Garawi we call it, or butter, in Yuwallara language, on both sides of my bloodline. So that's a smell that is quite beautiful, and it sticks to your clothes, but we're not going to do that in here. I haven't got permission. I've done a few outside, but the fire alarm, so the white smoke that it brings, it always sort of gets into the smoke alarms after I leave, so I leave you with a good feeling and good spirit, as I will today. And I'm glad you laugh at my bad jokes. I'm a father of 8, so I've got a closet full of dad jokes. And, look, for me, as I said, it's an honour and a privilege, to actually come here to do the welcomes, and sort of this area, people will just see the buildings and everything else that's around here, and I don't discount men in the conversation because I come from the greatest. But if you think of the canoes that were built here, women actually went out onto the water here. They were the ones that crafted the lures to use for fishing, and they're in the museum when you go in there, and the first thing, that you see out of fish gills, they were crafted out of that to catch fish, and they cooked food while they were in those canoes, and I hate to reference a museum because that's where it is, but the canoe there, it would take 4 to 6 men to carry that to the water, so that women would have been breastfeeding, on the water out here, catching fish to come back, to eat with their families. And that's all the way around here, if you think of Wangul, that's only around the bay, or Gumaragal, or even Wallamadigal, that's on the other side of the bay, so it's sort of 4 clan group areas that used to meet out here on Cockatoo Island, where we are here. I think of where I drive every single day when I come into the city. I come from Dharawal country, Campbelltown, where I come across the Tuckaroa, the Georges, and then I get to Guliari, the Cooks River. They're 2 major rivers that fed our people, that sustained them, for thousands of years. So, as I said, it's an honour and a privilege, to come here on behalf of the Metropolitan Local Aboriginal Land Council, and welcome you to Gadigal. They're only one of 29 clan groups that lived a wonderful symbiotic relationship with each other and the land and everything within it, that they benefited each other, and that's through relationships, and the most important one that you have is the one with you, and then that feeds out to other people, whether it be, on a computer or you talk to somebody. Obviously it's more personable that way, that's how we did things, sitting down on the same level, so I welcome you on behalf of the Metropolitan Local Aboriginal Land Council, their board and their members, and I hope you all have a wonderful day, and have a good yarn and yellow, as we say in my language.
Thank you, Raymond, for the warm and meaningful welcome and understanding where we're gathering today, and the importance of us recognizing our Indigenous Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islanders people. Before we dive into the sessions, a few housekeeping notes to share. Bathrooms and cloakroom, you have seen it as you entered the venue. Catering will be available next door during all the breaks this morning. And if you have any questions around engaging with UNSW, our faculties and divisions, please don't hesitate to speak to our colleagues who you might be able to identify with their yellow name pins. And if not, they will be standing next to the tables and booths, so you could speak to them throughout the morning. And if we could just request that you switch your phones onto silent mode during discussions, that would be really appreciated. UNSW Employability is about improving outcomes and career success of our students and graduates. And by bringing together members of the academia, our industry partners, and our teams across the university today, we'll discuss the current and future skills needs, what success looks like, not only for us, for our students, our graduates, not only for you, our industry partners, but for the wider community. And we would like to identify how UNSW can help empower our leaders of tomorrow. Our work is centered around ensuring students have access to career support, mentoring opportunities, industry connections, and world-class opportunities to help develop their skills. And we do this through our programs, our courses, our initiatives, which we will share with you today, and hopefully, and we are confident that you will put your hand up to engage with our teams who are delivering these initiatives. This morning, we will be kicking off with exploring the future of skills, what employability will look like in the next 10 years. After the panel, we will go for a quick break, and then we will dive into employability initiatives that I've mentioned that will give you front row access to our amazing students. So I will not hold you from our discussions. To kick off today's sessions, I would like to welcome our UNSW Pro Vice Chancellor for Student Success, Leah Hill, for a welcome and introduction, followed by a discussion with an esteemed panel of industry experts on shaping the future of skills through innovation and sustainability. Please join me in welcoming Leah Hill.
Thanks so much, Esmond, and let me reiterate my welcome. My goodness, it's great to look out and see so many of our faculty members, our partners, and our team members here present today. So I wanted to acknowledge and thank Uncle Raymond for his comments. I think what we see in that is an opportunity for us to embrace, as our Indigenous and Aboriginal Torres Strait Islander communities have had a commitment to education, to learning, through storytelling, through informal and formal education, and that continues on today. And it's for that reason that I'd also like to acknowledge that we meet on the land of the Gadigal people today and pay my respects to elders past and present. I'd also like to acknowledge our staff from our Nurrugili Centre at UNSW. It's in the heart of our campus, and Remy in our panel today. So thank you for sharing this opportunity. So it's been an exciting week in Sydney with Climate Action Week, and we'll hear today about some of the opportunities that technology brings to amplify that voice and accelerate change in that space. And on Saturday, the 8th of March, we celebrated International Women's Day. We heard that that's nothing new. Whilst we celebrate that from the early 1900s, we heard from Uncle Ray that actually our Aboriginal women have been influencing change and sustaining us for many, many generations. And this year's theme was about accelerating action. And I think today you'll hear from 3 panel members that are passionate about that, but also can share with us how we might truly accelerate action and influence behavioural and social change for good. And it is on that note that I'm really thrilled with UNSW's new strategy launch just recently, Progress for All, which is really about the essence of what UNSW is about. We are committed to empowering current and future generations with accessible education, building our networks across sectors and into society to have an impact. And those 9 impact focus areas connect us with the most pressing challenges as we see them for our time. And our engagement and partnership with our students, but also with our industry partners, makes all of that possible. Students are at the heart of my portfolio, student success. So how can we continue to engage with them and understand what it means to be successful throughout their learning, but also their outcomes? And so we build their skills not just in the classroom, but beyond the classroom. And it is our engagement with you that makes that possible. And I can't thank you enough for all of the work that you do with us to create space for our students to learn beyond the classroom and in your workplaces. And it is with some pride that we also acknowledge that we, for the 6th year, were recognised by the AFR as being the most employable university. And it is events like this that help facilitate that program of works. And I hope you're inspired today to continue to connect with us, because our industry partners, as I've mentioned on a number of occasions already, are what make it possible. So many students come in to university, while we might make that accessible for them, not knowing where they might go, not knowing if they've chosen the right degree, not really seeing what might be possible for them. And in an age where AI and new technologies has somewhat had a message of fear, which we're looking to change, there was and has been a level of uncertainty around what that future role looks like. And I hope today you can hear a little bit about how we can embrace the new technologies and shift our thinking in that and help this next generation understand where they might place themselves. So before I go to my panel members, now that I've shared it, so in shaping up today, we also looked at the World Economics Forum 2025 Future of Jobs report. And I wouldn't always recommend necessarily delving into a report like that, but I think this particular one is really insightful. And there's just a few things to pull out of that around the technological change, the demographic shifts, and the green transition. So that report tells us that this broadening digital access is expected to be the most transformative trend, with 60% of our employers expecting it to transform their business in the next 5 years. So technology is changing how our businesses run and how we interact with each other. And it's the roles in this space are the fastest growing in percentage terms. But also climate change mitigation and that environmental stewardship. The report reflects on that as being within the top 10 fastest growing skills for the first time. And Carmen does a lot of work in that space around how we can influence behavioural and social change. And the third one that I wanted to pull out from that report was about supporting employee health and wellbeing. Again, an area that I'm really passionate about and have a good fortune of leading that team within the university. But it's expected to be the top focus to attract talent. So as a take-home for industry, I think this is something we need to continue to understand, to learn about, to take away the unknown and adopt that diversity, equity and inclusion initiatives, but understand that supporting that employee health and wellbeing is going to be integral to employee acquisition and talent availability. So I am excited to introduce and welcome 3 industry experts to the panel. I'm going to ask you to come and join me, and as they join me on stage, I will introduce each of them to you as we shift across the floor. Perfect. So we've all got hand mics. So we've got Remy Crick, Associate Professor Carmen Leong, and Caroline McGrath. So Remy is proudly one of our alumni. She studied a Bachelor and Masters of Architecture and has continued engaging with UNSW through postgraduate studies, and we hope to see her return many times with our lifelong learning programs. No pressure, Remy. Remy is positive about driving change through that intersection of finance and sustainability. And yes, you might question an architecture degree and where has that taken her. I love the fact that Remy's non-linear approach to studies has shaped her passion and her career. So she started her career in Commonwealth Bank of Australia, where she contributed to climate reporting and product innovation. But Remy is also the founder of a not-for-profit Next Move. And I encourage you to take a look at that website promoting the economic development of our First Nations youth. Thank you for bringing that to our attention, Remy, or giving me the opportunity to bring that to your attention. Welcome, Remy. Carmen, Associate Professor Carmen Leong from the UNSW School of Information Systems Technology Management. Carmen's research interests, as I mentioned, include digital empowerment in social studies and digitally enabling strategic transformation in organisations and more broadly in society. Carmen is enthusiastic about discovering how technologies can bring about social change in countries, within influencing individuals and across businesses. As a respected academic and associate professor, Carmen has conducted more than 45 case studies across Southeast Asia, China, right through to South Korea and into Europe, probably just to name a few, to understand digital technologies for entrepreneurship and that mass mobilisation of change. And I think that is a real theme for us to embrace in that space. Carmen is also our Associate Dean of Equity, Diversity and Inclusion at the UNSW Business School. Welcome, Carmen. Caroline McGrath from Microsoft Philanthropies, which we often don't hear that aspect into philanthropy, but what I love in getting to know Caroline over the last few weeks was her passion around AI skilling for programs and citizens, and we'd love to hear about that target around introducing 1 million impact stories to AI upskilling. Carolyn joins us from Singapore, and that AI skilling program to citizens via non-for-profits, educational institutions, government workforce development and agencies. It's a program initiative that is launched in Australia and New Zealand just in December 2024, so very recent. It's great to have you with us. Carolyn joined us recently from speaking experiences on AI skilling for the United Nations at the University of Tokyo and in the Asia Pacific regional commemoration for International Women's Day in Bangkok. Thanks for joining us, Caroline. So, enough from me. I'm going to start with you, Caroline, because I love the influence you're having within community and society. We hear a lot about AI in our context of education and businesses, but your influence through community and society. What can we learn from the work you're doing in that space to ensure our workplaces are more conversant in technology and society ready, so to speak?
Thank you for the question. Hi, everybody. Happy to be here. So I think there's a few things that we've learnt as we've rolled it out globally, rolled out our AI skilling ambitions globally. I think one of the first things was really just that this has to be a collaborative effort to get the impact and scale that I think countries need, economies need. You really have to work across education, government, non-profits, and of course industry as well. So that's how we've structured a lot of the implementation plans that we've done in the geographies that we're working in. In Indonesia, for example, I was there last month, and we had there's a program that has brought together all of those 4 groups. It's called Elevate, and it was launched by the President, It's a concerted effort. It's very intentional to get jumpstart AI in Indonesia. And it follows that model of getting those groups together to actually come up with a collaborative solution. So I think that's one big lesson that I would definitely share. The other thing I would say just quickly is to get scale, to do this sort of work at scale, it has to be a structural and systemic approach. So what I mean by that is you've got to embed, I think, the materials, the content, the learnings around AI into like learning management systems within government departments, within educational systems. It's going to take too long if you do it onesie twosie, school by school, government department by government department. You actually have to take it from a structural perspective. So those are two things.
Yeah, fantastic. I mean, how true is that around collaboration? We can only succeed if we're working together. So I also know you're passionate about the impact that AI brings to enable equity, access and inclusion. And that's an important ambition for all of us. So how do you see the job market and roles being impacted by the increased emphasis on AI literacy and AI skills?
So the first thing I'd say is that, just to throw some stats at you, but since November 2022, when ChatGPT sort of was launched and became more broadly available, there's been 140 times or multiplier increase in the number of people who have added AI skills into their profiles for LinkedIn. So Microsoft has a relationship with LinkedIn, so we get access to that information. And then on the flip side, employers, there's been a 21 multiplier or X increase in the number of ads that are asking for AI skills. So there's definitely been an uptick over the last 2 years of AI skills needed and offered in the market. It's a recognition that this is a wave that's coming through that we have to respond to as job seekers and as folks that are employing people as well. I would also say that like the other piece is around responsible and ethical AI. That's something that we have spent a lot of time on. We have a whole group of people within Microsoft Research and within the business as well that are just focused on responsible and ethical AI. And so you can't really do AI, I think, unless all of our training programs, for example, include units or address those topics. And so that's another thing that we're seeing a lot of interest and, a desire for folks who not only just have the technical skills, but also the understanding of the context in which those skills are deployed.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. Carmen, I think picking up on that, and particularly around responsible and ethical, we know that technology can be used for good. And thinking about your research in digital empowerment and AI-enabled transformation, you've influenced or you've looked at the influence of social and behavioural change. In that context, what should organisations be looking to develop or recruit for in their future employees in that context?
Thanks, Leah. It's good to be here. Maybe just a little bit of context to the work that I do, because I think I'm pretty distant from calling myself an industry expert. So I've done a bit of case study, as Leah was mentioning, with the industry. So in the last 10, 15 years, I've been to companies, big and small, trying to learn and understand how do they leverage on technology for whether it's organizational transformations or in generating social impacts. Been very lucky and very privileged to be able to speak to these companies and understand what are some of the consequences of using technology in the company and country. So if you think about 10 years back, so we were talking about something big like social media, which is probably not as big today. E-commerce, which is very common in our daily life now. I have also studied, technologies like very recently in AI. So, from afar, you can already see how big the shift is in technology, like the change in the types of technology that we are using. And I guess for my work, both in my engagement with the industry and also my daily life as a researcher in the academic institutions, I think one of the things that I see as one of the most important skills in employees and students is probably, I would probably shy away from specifying a specific skills, because I think some of those skills do get obsolete over time, especially given the changes that we are seeing today. And as a PhD supervisors, I'm sure many of my colleagues here would also know that when we recruit PhD students or research assistants, it's kind of similar with organizations, employing a good staff, right? So I guess one of the elements that we really look at, or at least I would really emphasize is the ability to be able to adapt to changes. But I think at the same time, you need to be adaptable, but also at the same time, being able to really be resilient to some of those changes. It's kind of a bit contradictory in saying that. So when I was preparing for this question, I was like, am I making sense myself? And I was kind of reflecting on my own work as well, because as researchers in the technological space, we get very excited about, it's AI, it's social media 10 years ago, Arab Spring, all these movements. But so in a way, we are adaptable, right? So to look at and understand different technologies. But at the same time, it's also about being able to come back to your desk and say, okay, now we have all this, advances in technologies. Companies are interested in different things. How do we bring things together? What are you really keen on developing in yourself as a lifelong skills? What are the things or skills that are transferable? What are the things that you want to master today, tomorrow, in the next months? But I'm sure there are something that you also want to be able to master over the next 5, 10 years in your career. So I would say being adaptable, but also at the same time, kind of being able to focus and resilient in your making your choice in your career. I hope that makes sense. Yeah.
Absolutely. So, I mean, we noticed that, your reference to the fast pace of change, but also the need to be adaptable. And I think working with industry and universities helps that, particularly if we're able to design programs where students can go out and be placed in industry. And what do you see as the benefit of those two working together with our students that might be placed during their studies?
Yeah, so I think that's something, is an exciting questions for me, because as an academic, I do enjoy seeing students being, succeed in their career, like Remy here. And I think one of the benefits that I see in these opportunities of placement and internship and in industry is really multifold. So it's not really just benefiting the students, but also from the organization, from the company's perspective. We get to access to all these young and brilliant minds. I'm very proud of my job. I love my job because I get to work with these young and brilliant minds every day. It kind of reinvigorates me as a person and also my work, right? So I guess from companies, we are able to really work with these highly motivated individuals through all these opportunities of internship and placement and even work integrated learning. I think Esmond mentioned just now the range of opportunities that UNSW created in incorporating that elements in our courses, programs, everything, really helps organizations to look at and work with these talents who have access and know about the latest of technologies and bring in all these innovative ideas and fresh perspective to our work. So I think that's just one of the benefits. And throughout the process, companies are and industry are also helping to shape the kind of future-ready the workforce that you want to see and recruit in your organizations. So I think it's a mutually benefiting opportunities.
Beautiful two-way. Thank you so much, Carmen. Remy, I think you're an example of that drive around curiosity for innovation and impact, and as I've referenced, which I think is a great thing, that not sticking to necessarily the confines of the degree structure, but that really influenced also your career success. What do you think our employers should be looking at for in their graduates beyond just the degree that they have gained?
That's a really good question. Thank you, Leah. So in terms of the employees in the room, what skills you should be looking for. Of course, we know that the nature of business is ever evolving. There are trends coming in, coming out. Blockchain was very hot a couple of years ago. Now we've got AI, which I think is here to stay. Sustainability has made its way into the regulatory landscape here in Australia. So I think being broad in your mindset when it comes to selecting the next wave of employees is definitely a good thing. And I think in terms of promoting that lifelong learning is also something that should be encouraged. I was very fortunate through my early stages of my career to be working for an employer that very much promoted that. And off the back of that coming back to Carmen's point, there was that symbiotic upskilling in terms of how I could give that back to the business. And I actually was fortunate to work on a CRC project, so between public and private researchers in terms of improving the valuation models of that bank that I worked for. So yeah, there's definitely a need to be broad in that mindset because it'll definitely come in handy when you are trying to carry out your business strategy.
Fantastic, thanks Remy. So it also goes beyond some of those technical skills, but what our students are often faced with throughout their studies, needing to grow and to learn, but also build that resilience, and Carmen mentioned that too. And these are strong and desirable characteristics, as we keep telling our students. But tell us about your own experience and how that then shaped what you've done and how it continues to manifest, particularly in your role now as the Associate Director of Sustainability and Impact at KPMG.
Thanks, Leah. So in terms of my first interaction with UNSW, I was very fortunate to come through the Nuragili Winter School program. For those of you that don't know, that's a high school program aimed at Indigenous students to get them acquainted with university life. So I completed that for a number of years, and so UNSW was my only choice when it came to selecting where I was going to study. I was fortunate to do a Bachelor and a Master's of Architecture. But throughout that time period, obviously, there were times when I was a little bit frustrated. I was travelling from Wollongong, so there was that distance as well. And so I thought, how can I best upskill myself instead of potentially stepping back from university? So I actually enrolled in a few entrepreneurship, marketing, Mandarin courses. So again, very broad. I don't think it was allowed to deviate from my set structure. But of course, these skills have very much come in handy when it comes to where I am today. And I think that creative mindset, having that sustainability focus, has very much driven my career, and I haven't let my formal education dictate that. It's rather these soft skills that have very much helped me to promote my career.
Thanks, Remy. And I think the take home for that for our industry guests is also about being able to empower and support the staff to go beyond what that professional qualification might be. Caroline, I might throw to you around this new language that's emerging, a layperson, things like AI fluency and human in the loop, AI skilling, and so it can be somewhat overwhelming when we talk about AI. I know certainly within the education sector, it's been focused first and foremost on integrity, and then it's starting to be how can AI enable and how can we support our students with that. So it can lead to a lot of fear and confusion. But with your work on AI skilling, what should organisations be looking for or starting to use in attracting students and graduates to their organisations?
Okay, so I think I'm going to build on some of the things that Rami just talked about as well. Just that cross-discipline, I think, approach is key. This is not just about the technology. AI is actually a really interesting technology because I think for the first time in a very long time, you don't need a computer science degree to integrate with it. Really, the innovation's happening at the edge. It's the end users. It's the folks that are using AI that are shaping it. And so from that perspective, it really depends on people creating scenarios or creating use cases, I guess is probably a better word, in healthcare, in agriculture, in all the many industries in which AI can evolve and can be useful. So, I really think that having a cross-discipline approach can help tremendously. I think keeping an open mind, being curious, look for folks. Again, I think Remy touched on this as well, but people who are curious because we're at the beginning of this technology phase with AI. It is going to evolve. It's going to change a lot in the next decade. So I think just sort of it's not a one and done. Like I did my AI skilling, moving on. It's not actually going to work like that. It's going to continue evolving. So you're going to want to be curious and you're going to want to continue to get your hands dirty and understand the tech as it evolves. I think also, one thing about AI, and I was just talking about this in Bangkok last week, was, it's going to come down to, and I tell my kids this, you want to grow up to be, and they're high school students, you want to be the best question asker in the room, not the person who has all the answers. That's what AI is going to drive us towards. And so in order to be the best question asker in the room, you've got to have critical thinking skills. So you're going to want to, look for folks who are able to think about things critically and ask those questions. It's not the technical skills alone. The tech will augment humans. It will allow us to do perhaps things faster or perhaps, process data or do analysis faster than we used to be able to. It's not going to replace us necessarily. You've got to, be able to manipulate the technology, and that requires you to have some of those skills. And of course, we all are going to show up to work and work with other humans, so you need soft skills as well, because you can create the most amazing prompt, but if you can't talk to other people about it and why it's important, then that innovation comes to an end there. So soft skills continue to be really critical as we work with other folks.
Great, thanks so much. So just thinking about it's new and what about those, we're passionate about the inclusion, the diversity, just advancing women as we've just come off that week, recognising it. Are we at risk of programming in existing biases into these new technologies as they take shape? And if not, what have you seen work well in that cross-collaboration of how we might continue to use it for good? And I might just ask each of you to comment on that. I'll kick off with you first, Carolyn.
Okay, so I think yes is the short answer to your question. I think a lot of these large language models are fed by existing literature and by existing data sets, and so guess what? We're humans, and we know, and I think we've raised our awareness increasingly over time around those biases, and we've done things to try to mitigate those biases, particularly in the last 10 to 15 years, which has been great. I'd say even longer than that, but anyway, we've tried to manage those biases, but I think that they still exist. And I think as we start to, the sort of interesting thing with AI is that I think we have the opportunity as we start manipulating this data and interacting with it through these tools like ChatGPT, for example, or Copilot, to continue to educate it and inform it and finesse it. And through that interaction, we're actually going to manage, hopefully, manage some of those biases by what we correct or finesse the technology to do. So I think it's there, but I think there's an opportunity for us to do things about it.
Thanks. Carmen?
Yeah, yes, I think I agree with what Caroline was saying. And I think you just give me a new perspective in that, because I was thinking before today, even with human being, there's bias. right? But technology actually gives us an opportunity to sort of overcome that bias, but acknowledging that they're still developing AI, still needs, we need to look at the data set and everything. So I think so that's just give me a new perspective. Thank you. Yeah, and I don't have a good answer to how we're going to overcome that, obviously, but I think as researchers, we can see, at least in what my colleagues at UNSW Business School and other faculty, I'm sure as well, are working on, because everybody is so keen in unpacking this black box. And we have a group of passionate researchers looking at gender issue, Gender Equality Hub. That's one of the hubs that we just launched last week across faculty. And we are in the process of, bringing people together to say, if anyone is keen on understanding and unpacking some of these gender issues, whether it's business or engineering or policy or law, can we come together? And I'm sure AI will be one of the focus there. Yeah.
Thanks, Carmen.
To extend on that, I think, again, coming back to that point around being curious and leveraging your existing experiences and skill sets, when we're creating these AI-related products and services, not only is it the data modeler's responsibility to create something that's not necessarily a black box and can be explained back to the business or back to the user or the customer, I think it's everyone's responsibility, whether you're in charge of developing these, whether you're a customer of these products, to say, actually, have you thought about this? And everyone should be working towards creating future-focused AI products and services that very much don't allow for biases, for these biases to perpetuate.
Thank you. Well, I think that's a fabulous note to end on. So to maintain our curiosity, the importance of collaboration, we see it in the room, we've heard it from our panel, and this opportunity to embrace AI, but technologies in general, because it's about the augmentation, it's not the either or, it's about doing it together. So please join me in thanking our panel.
Thank you, Leah, Remy, Caroline, and Carmen, that was an insightful discussion. Quite scary, or it depends on how you take it, but it is more exciting than scary, actually, because it is us looking at the future. It is us looking at 5-10 years down the road and what our contributions would look like as organizations into the future. But I will let you stretch, grab tea and coffee at the breakout room. We will reconvene in around, I was given a signal, 20 minutes, but you will hear a bell, so that will bring us to around 10:45. If you will be here, if you come back at 10:45, that'd be great, so we can dive into the programs and initiatives that you are all excited about. All right, thank you very much, and see you in a bit. I would like us now to shift our focus into how UNSW actively supports skills development through our world-class employability initiatives and programs, and most importantly, how you can get involved in those initiatives with us. To take us through this, I would like to welcome my colleagues at UNSW Employability, Tom, Alice, and Nick, who will be introducing our guest speakers. Tom, over to you.
Thank you, Esmond. Hi, everyone. It's my absolute pleasure to introduce our next guests, both of whom are UNSW alumni. Our first guest, Nikki Brogan, is Strategic Projects Manager at the Powerhouse Museum. And our other guest, Drashti Shah, is a Bachelor of Information Systems and Commerce alum and now technology graduate at AMP. Nikki and Drashti, welcome. They're both going to share with us their experience and stories associated with one of our flagship programs, the Interdisciplinary Partner Projects. For these projects, we partner with host organisations and recruit between 15 and 25 students from across UNSW faculties to tackle in small teams a real-world brief co-designed with the host. Nikki and Powerhouse have been a host across 3 projects over the past 3 years. And Drashti is a 2024 alum of one of our flagship global projects with Gate Gourmet in Narita, Japan. I encourage you all to chat with Nikki and Drashti more during the break afterwards about their experiences. And with me and my colleague Aaron Connolly, who will be at the employability table out there if you're keen to explore possibilities for your organisation. Thanks so much for joining us, Nikki and Drashti, and over to you.
Thanks, Tom. Hi, everyone. It's great to be here. My name's Nikki, and I am from the Powerhouse Museum. For those of you who might not know the Powerhouse, it's the largest museum group in Australia. So there's Powerhouse Ultimo, which some of you may be familiar with. It's currently closed for renovation. Powerhouse Parramatta, which is under construction at the moment to open at the end of 2026. There's Powerhouse Castle Hill, and Sydney Observatory also sits as part of the Powerhouse. So as Tom mentioned, we have been involved in the partner program for 3 years. And so across those 3 years, we have run 3 different projects. Each one has been inspired by the real life work of a team at the Powerhouse and a challenge or a provocation that we have been working with. So the very first one that we did was a question around how museums respond to a changing world. And so we really were interested in working with students to think about how we could embed industry and community in the foundations of the museum as it's being developed at the moment. The next project that we did was around climate action and what a museum can do in terms of its commitment to positive climate action. It was a really interesting one to have a whole new kind of range of perspectives on how to change, sustainability principles or a plan into something that was a bit more programmatic or to bring to life through the museum. And the final one, which ran last year, was really kind of looking to discover how museums can help to inform and shape the future, with a real focus on southwest Sydney and a lot of the change happening in agricultural areas there at the moment. So they were the 3 projects that we've worked across with UNSW. I'm sure we'll get into a bit more in terms of what that looked like, but maybe over to you to speak about what project you worked on, Drashti.
Thanks, Nikki. Hi guys, my name's Drashti, and as Tom mentioned, I'm an alumni of one of the Global Practice of Work programs in 2024. So last year, in around August, I went over to Japan with a few of my colleagues from UNSW, and we worked with a company called Gate Gourmet to solve real-life problems again that they had. So we did have a few different problems that we were solving amongst the group, ranging from sustainability issues all the way through to how AI implementation can optimize their scheduling processes. So I'll just speak to what my group worked on, and my group was working on kind of how we can use AI to optimize shift scheduling processes in their bakery department over at Gate Gourmet in Narita. So what that kind of looked like was us putting our heads down and having a look at, well, what can we do, right? They currently have a really manual system, and how can we use our expertise and knowledge and experiences from UNSW, from internships in Sydney or anywhere else across the world, as well as from things we've learned in coursework at UNSW to help them. Before I get too much into that, I might pass over back to Nikki to talk about the impacts that UNSW students had at Powerhouse Museum.
Thanks. So yeah, it has been such a great experience across all 3 projects. We have worked with a different group each time. And what it has really allowed us to do is really think about the work that we're doing and speak with, I think it was mentioned in the previous panel, these kind of brilliant young minds who have different perspectives, are really kind of critically analysing the work that we're putting in front of them. It's been, for the organisation, it's been really lovely to kind of connect with people. Some of them have had engagement with the Powerhouse in the past as a visitor. Some people had no idea what the museum was or what the museum was about. And so it was a really great chance to be able to delve into the work that we were doing in a way that invited new perspectives and new ideas coming through. We kind of ran the sessions between UNSW and at Powerhouse. So some of the students came to our office in Parramatta to see the construction that's underway on that museum. Other students also came to Powerhouse Ultimo. They were able to meet with exec staff. They were able to meet with residents, creative residents that we have on site. And so it was really about starting to build that connection with students on their way out of studies or deep in their studies as they start to think about what it might look like as they finish up at UNSW. So we have stayed in touch with a lot of those students, especially as we start to move towards what the workforce looks like as we open all of our different sites across Sydney. It's been a really rewarding way to work with a group and to really delve into the foundations of how we're working, what we're doing, and almost play a mentoring role. I think there are other staff who have also really found it beneficial to speak about the work that they're doing in terms of presenting and that idea of lifelong learning. You probably think that it's important for the students that are involved in these projects, but it's also feedback that we've had from staff who have been involved in each of the programs that we've done. How about you?
Yeah, I would say the same thing, of course, from a student's perspective. I would say it's been so rewarding and so impactful. Again, speaking to specifically the project brief that we had, it was kind of like we went in there and, of course, like we were talking about earlier today, AI is it's so important, such a buzzword these days. Every organisation wants to implement it, but lots of organisations don't know how. And sometimes lots of students as well, they want to learn about it, but where's really the opportunity, right? So what programs like the Global Practice Work do is that they give us a kind of a twist on a traditional classroom environment, and they give us this opportunity, whether it be domestically or whether it be internationally, to kind of explore all these concepts without bounds. So we went in there and they gave us kind of like the project brief. They were like, okay, we want to use AI, but we don't know anything about it. And we were like, okay, that's really great because it gives us the opportunity to do literally anything. So for 2 weeks, we kind of put our heads down and we were like back and forth with not just the general manager of Gate Gourmet, Helen, who's actually a UNSW alumni as well, but other representatives of Gate Gourmet, specifically people who are directly impacted by the changes that we're trying to make. For example, the chefs in the bakery department, the person who manually does like the physical Excel sheet, like changing of like scheduling and things like that. So we got a chance to talk to them, not just once, not just twice, but multiple times over those 2 weeks. And we got to really put our heads down, have a look into, okay, well, should we make one in-house? Do we have the capabilities to make one in-house? For an organisation like Gate Gourmet, where their focus is really on, catering for the airline company, maybe that's not something that we want to explore. Well, let's have a look at off-the-shelf solutions. So we had a look at a bunch of those, did lots of analysis and things like that. And one of my teammates actually, which I found really inspiring what he did, was, we were having a look and he was like, do we actually even need AI for this? They're talking about AI because it's such a buzzword, but for something as simple as scheduling, can we just automate it? Why not? Why not automate it? Why do we have to go through all of those new things, transform so much things when often the simplest answer could be the right answer? And what he did for those 2 weeks, which is honestly just insane. He put his head down and he programmed an entire automated algorithm for Gate Gourmet, for their specific staff, for all the intricate details that go into scheduling, especially in an organisation where flights are delayed every single time you go to the airport, and something like food that they handle every single day, which is extremely sensitive. It's got to be at the right temperatures, things like that. And he made something that accounted for pretty much everything that he possibly could, and we presented that back to them, as well as some off-the-shelf solutions. So what we got to do is he got to do what he was passionate about, we got to do what we were passionate about, and we also got to collaborate not only amongst the 4 of us, but amongst the wider 12 of us, or even wider 25 of us who are involved in sustainability as well, and get all those new perspectives, which again, like I said, it's a little bit different to a traditional classroom where you have maybe 2 hours of classroom time and then you have a couple of hours outside. and you have a pretty defined project brief for what you want to do, right? So we were able to, I think, create such impact not only for the organisation, but for ourselves in being like, oh, wow, like we can actually do this. It's not something that we can just talk about theoretically and be like, oh, we think you should do this. We actually got to do what we wanted to do, which I think was really cool and really rewarding.
That's really great. I think something you touched on then, the exchange between the organisation and the students involved. It was a really great opportunity for us to build a relationship over the weekly kind of catch-ups that we would have, to give constructive feedback around some of the, I guess, issues and challenges that students might face are the same issues you might face working in a workplace. So yeah, it was quite interesting to kind of build those things together and to see the students take on their own ways of presenting ideas back to us. There was one student who had a part-time job at a bakery, and for his final presentation, he had decided to bake a loaf of bread, and he'd used flour to put the Powerhouse kind of logo on this giant loaf of bread that he brought in as part of his presentation, which was pretty incredible to see the way that students were trying to think outside of the box to really speak to the work that they'd been developing over the semester with us. I think we might be done.
Thank you so much, Drashti and Nikki, and for your insights and sharing your stories. They will be around for a bit after in networking, so please have a chat with Drashti, Nikki, Aaron, or me outside. Thank you again for joining us and for your insights.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Alice Palmer, and I work in the Student Development team. I have the privilege of leading the Career Discovery Mentoring Program in collaboration with our Alumni Engagement team. In today's competitive and ever-evolving job market, having the right guidance at the right time can make all of the difference. And as the saying goes, you don't know what you don't know. So that's where our mentoring program comes in. We pair industry professionals with our students to help reduce some of these unknowns. I'd like to share a short testimonial from one of our students, Sahada. She described her experience by saying, "My mentor's guidance was invaluable. Through insightful discussions, I gained clarity on industry nuances and career paths. Their expertise supported my confidence and direction as I navigate my future." Stories like Sahada's highlight the impact of the program in shaping career journeys. And the numbers speak for themselves. In 2024 alone, we matched 1,250 students with mentors from a range of industries. 90% of students reported feeling more prepared for their careers, and 93% of mentors were satisfied with their experience. Our program relies on our incredible mentors who generously volunteer their time to share their knowledge and experience with our students. To give you further insight into their experience, I'm pleased to introduce our guest, Shahan Diaz. Shahan is a senior software engineer at TPG Telecom, with over 15 years' experience in telecommunications. He holds a bachelor's degree in software engineering from UNSW and a master's of finance from UTS. Shahan has participated in multiple iterations of the program since 2023, and we are thrilled that Shahan is with us today. Please join me in welcoming Shahan.
Good morning, everyone. Everyone's having a great morning. It's great to be here at the UNSW Employability Summit. I would like to start with a question. Was there a time in your education journey where you weren't sure what is the right next step, and there was someone to guide you? Reflecting on my journey, I remember being keen, ambitious, but there were times when I felt maybe I didn't know what is the right next step. And so reflecting on this, I realized that there was a gap. I'm sure you know the transition from education to employment is not a straightforward one. So reflecting on this, I thought I can help. And this helped me to decide to join the UNSW Career Employment Program. the main reason this program is it matches keen students with industry professionals. And what's great about this program is its flexibility. So in a short period of time, you can have a tremendous impact on the students. So let me kind of give you an insight. About a year ago, I mentored a student. So she was keen, super motivated, really smart and engaging. But she lacked a bit of confidence with her resumes and some of her interview skills. So what we did was we focused on her interview skills. We looked at her resume to upskill that, and then she got a bit of confidence. And in 2 to 3 months, she got her first full-time job at one of the tech firms as a front-end developer in the industry. But the interesting thing is, the story doesn't end there. I have continued to work with her, and now it's been about a year. We continue to meet weekly. As she said, can you help me, hold me accountable to achieve her goals? Now it's been 1 year. She's expanded herself. She's taken on more responsibility. And in fact, she messaged me last week. She said she excitedly messaged me saying she had her first yearly review and she got promoted, right? So as you can see, as mentors, just having this interaction for about 5 weeks, we can have a big impact on the students. But this is not just for the students. Even mentors, by mentoring, can improve your personal development, your communication, and also networking. These students could be future colleagues and industry leaders. So I guess the question is, what type of impact do you want to have? If you're thinking about mentoring, I'll give you kind of 3 reasons why maybe this is something you might want to consider. 1, obviously you have a big positive impact on the students. 2, it's probably one of the most rewarding things that you can do. And 3, yeah, from a personal development perspective, it's a great opportunity. So if you're considering, I highly encourage you to look into this program, UNSW Career Development Mentoring Program. And yeah, let's try and shape the future, one conversation and one success story at a time. Thank you.
Right. Can I ask Gotham and Jason and Gary and Andres to come up on the stage, and I'll introduce you all in a second. As they're doing that, thanks very much. There is a step on that side, which is good to know. My name's Nick Zimmerman. I run Innovator Pro, which I'm going to tell you about. Don't be fooled by our star-studded gentleman lineup here. The program is actually at least 60-40, sometimes even 60 in favour of female to male participants. And obviously all kinds of participants come on Innovator Pro. So I run this program, and what I do in this program is I tell students to keep it punchy. So I'm going to try to do the same, because I'm in the way of sort of the thank you of the head of employability and then some networking space. So it's a work-relevant or work-related learning opportunity, and it involves an innovation challenge and students, industry, and professionals, much like the first one that we heard about before in the CDEV project. But let me ask you something. Hands up if you think your organisation is involved in thought leadership. We should see most of the hands going up, I think, right? Right? Absolutely, okay. So and in the earlier panel, we heard about sort of the soft skills and those principles, adaptability being the most important thing. So in employability, all of our programs really endeavour to include these kind of key, what I like the term power skills, right? Potencies and capacities for action. That's what we're trying to do in a short amount of time. So what is the format? 2 days of workshops where we introduce them to teamwork, design thinking, systems thinking, and of course an introduction to the challenge. So for this, we partner with different organizations. This case in point here was with Red Hat. Over the next 3 weeks or so, the teams will compete for a round 1 pitch to the challenge, and then there's a top 5, and the top 5 get access to industry experts. And usually the industry experts will do 2 catch-ups with them a week, but I give a big list of industry experts and thought leaders, so that could be you. There's a final pitch competition where the industry and UNSW attend, and the winners get some industry experience, some mornings, and some further connections with the industry participants. Why do we do this? This was mentioned before by our Pro Vice Chancellor. We really are trying to show, model, demonstrate how you do these skills for students. And this is employers in Australia, what employers in Australia think is most needed in the workplace. But I want to draw your attention to one that's down at, I wonder if it's even highlighted. Yes, it's the last one highlighted, which is sitting about 50-something%. I actually think you cannot achieve this top one here that's so sought after if you do not actually do that one down there, which is motivation and self-awareness, yeah? That's just, I encourage you to look at the research on that. That might be actually some research for me. But I actually think that is fundamental, and if there's one thing that we're trying to do in this short amount of time, is do that in this program. So that's enough from me. This was the challenge that we had late last year. Precisely, what is AI federated learning? What's the global market opportunity sizing and the impacts on society? And I'm going to hand to Andreas Spanner, who is immensely helpful in helping me to shape that. Andreas, tell us what you do at Red Hat and why you chose this challenge.
Okay, thanks. So I'm the chief architect in the CTO office, so we're part of the global engineering program, and our job is really to play around with new technology, right? That's what we get paid for, and then find technology that actually are useful for enterprises, and then we productize that, right? So, and as a platform company, which Red Hat is, our job is for our customers to take away undifferentiated heavy lifting. So all those important bits like operating system, process, security, that's what we want to take away for our customers so that they can then focus on the differentiated heavy lifting, the features and functions that set you apart or our customers and partners apart in the marketplace with their offerings, right? And why did I choose, or why did I think it's a good topic? It's to be honest, it was just what was on my table at that time, right? So we had to, the job was to determine, is federated learning something that the industry, the global industry, and that is everything like from banking, telecommunications, government, transportation, aviation, is that something that the global industries would benefit from, that we take this undifferentiated heavy lifting away and give them a platform that they can deploy federated learning. And for that we needed to do a market opportunity sizing, see how big is the opportunity, right? And if it's big enough, then it's worthwhile as a company to go into that. And on that, a lot of AI has been discussed today already, but Red Hat is what sets Red Hat apart is also the fact that we believe in open source, right? Which means, we talked about AI bias and safety and all this. You can only achieve that if it's open source AI. And that doesn't mean that you just download a model or play around with ChatGPT or use a Copilot because it's available or free. It means that you know what data has been used to train this large language model, for example. If you don't know what data has been used to train this large language model, you cannot guarantee AI safety, right? And this is what Red Hat stands for. We believe the evolution of open source code is open data, and that also democratizes across the world really the access to that. And federated learning is just one of those use cases where AI applies, and we've seen a bigger and bigger uptake from centralized deployments to edge deployments, right? Closer to the user, closer to where the data lives, and that's why I thought it's a good topic.
Excellent. Thank you, Andreas, for those very candid responses and thought-provoking responses as well. You can, afterwards in the networking section, debate Andreas, as I did throughout the program, and this is very healthy because we do this to help shape our students, but no, I'm indebted to you for putting that challenge forward. Now over to the students who actually won the challenge. Over to Gotham and Jason to tell us about what you did, and how you went about it. Why do you think you won?
Hi everyone, my name is Jason Lim, and I study Bachelor's of Actuarial Studies and Computer Science. And I'm Gotham. I'm a Master of Design student at the Paddington campus.
And together, alongside our diverse team, we bring all our unique skill sets to create Sherlock AI as part of the Innovative Pro solution. And with this, what we've identified was there was a unique market opportunity for better ed learning. And this was inside the Indigenous banking sector. Because what we've noticed was that 50% of Indigenous Australians have been denied a bank loan compared to only 8% of non-Indigenous Australians. So we realized that this was a very big space and we needed to address this inequality. And this is where better ed learning would come into play. And through this, we've been able to collaborate with a variety of mentors from Red Hat, IBM, EY, KPMG, ThinkPlace, UiPath, and Qantas. And together, we've been able to diversely figure out the user experience, where the technology stack comes into play, and also how our solution would also be released into the market. And I'll pass on to Gotham to talk about the solution.
For sure. And just for some context, we did this in like an interdisciplinary team of 5, and we were complete strangers at the time. And so after the program, I think we really had a time to bond over like solving this complex problem. And our solution ended up being a way to kind of improve access to capital for Indigenous communities using federated learning AI. And how we did that was we were training data from like hyper-local or like remote areas, and we're finding like past success cases of like people's loans being approved. And using that data, we're able to provide like very personalized recommendations to new users who otherwise would not know how to get their loan approved or would have to go meet someone in person. And that was our solution. We kind of pitched it in a slide deck to our mentors at Red Hat and members of the industry. And we also had to find the market opportunity at the very end, which we did, and we kind of continued to refine that with the Red Hat team afterwards.
Great. And just on that, thanks for sharing that in a very punchy way as we've learned how to do in the program. Just tell us a little bit about, since you've done that, the Innovator Pro program, how do you think that you've been able to leverage that opportunity for your next kind of step or career move, either Gotham or Jason?
I'm happy to start off first. So shortly after the Innovator Pro, I've been able to leverage these skills in the technology aspect, but also in terms of how we approach clients and having that startup mindset. And this is what launched me to my next career step, which was at an AI startup. And through that, my role was as an AI developer, and it was really exciting to see how federated learning comes into play, and as well as AI in general. And then through that, I was able to go into my KPMG internship for actuarial consulting, and bringing all these knowledge as well as like the client-facing skills was important in that role as well.
And is a bit different for me. I'm a product designer, so for me, I followed the problem-solving process was very similar to what I would do in some of my university projects, for example, but I had the opportunity to do it in an interdisciplinary team and over like a short sprint. And so this kind of gives me something to talk about in my interviews or whether I apply for jobs inside this specific industry. So we did like AI and banking. So if I apply for jobs or do an interview in the banking sector, I'll have something to talk about based on real-world work experience, I guess. Yeah.
Unreal. Thanks so much for sharing. And finally, one of the judges in our first round and big supporters is Gary Gray, head of ecosystems at Red Hat. I know there's more in the title, but I'll keep it brief, Gary. I'd just like you to speak just finally about what do you think we're doing the right thing in terms of developing the skills in this short amount of time, and what would you suggest in terms of the skills that students will be needing in tech or in any kind of workforce?
Hey, thanks, Nick. I will try and be punchy, unlike my colleague. Just look at these two. I think the answer to the question is the quality of what you're producing is on the stage and actually shone throughout that Innovation program. It's been talked about already today. Adaptability, lifelong learning, all of those skills are critical But this program took it to the next level, because what you introduce is things like presentation skills, complex problem solving, storytelling, and cross-functional collaboration. And Jason just talked about that, right? They came together as a team, 5 individuals with skills, all unique skills, recognised each other's skills, and then actually played to each other's strengths in what they were innovating, what they brought to life. I mean, it's real world, right? So for me, it's all of those things and a little bit more, right? We were just talking before or during the break about what their takeaways were, and there are those things. The presentation skills are critical for their later on in life as they into their career journeys. The storytelling, that's an art form that, in my opinion, is so understated and so under-recognised. These guys took it to the next level when they told their story each time, and they took feedback, and they leveraged the feedback from the mentors to improve what they were doing. So, that's that kind of continuous learning loop where they were just reapplying and redoing things better and better. By the time they got to the end of it, to me, it was a lay down Madeira. I know I shouldn't say that as a judge, but it absolutely was. They were so polished at what they did. I felt like the amateur watching them at it. So.
Unreal. Thanks so much, Gary. The invitation's there for all of you to come and chat to us as a thought leader to be involved in Innovator Pro. It's short, it's easy to get involved. Love to chat in the networking, and I'm sure everyone would be happy to chat to you. Please thank Gary, Jason, Gotham, and Andreas.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Nick, and thanks, Tom, Alice, our industry partners, our students for sharing their stories. This is just a taster of the programs that we deliver at UNSW, and in a few moments I'll be sharing the opportunities that you can engage with the wider UNSW team, with our faculties and other areas of the university. It is just exciting. It makes me appreciate more why I have been working in the higher education sector in the last 15 years, and that partnerships with you is at the core of our success, of our student success, and we truly appreciate the support from organizations that creates these opportunities for our students who are studying and after they graduate. Now, we are continuously excited about navigating the future of skills journey with you all and helping shape a successful future, starting with equipping our students with the basic skills complementing the technical knowledge that they gain from their degree programs to participate in the future state of our economy and society. And I'm now excited to share opportunities where you can create that impact, whether that is on top of the pile of papers on your desks or the first email that you will see in the morning, like Andreas picked up from Innovator Pro. And by engaging with the UNSW, you're able to access talent. You're able to strengthen your graduate pipelines. You're able to deliver the impact on our students and for the communities that you work with. And you are able to partner with a leading education and research institution and connect with a diverse student cohort. I'll start with the Faculty of Arts, Design and Architecture, who are offering short courses, life learning education opportunities. And with our schools of social sciences, art, and design and built environment, there are opportunities to partner in offering professional placements. Our Faculty of Business are seeking hosts for industry project courses and participants in the AGSM Industry Showcase. Our Faculty of Engineering are inviting you to join the Virtually Integrated Projects Empowering Excellence breakfast and to partner with our team in the industry training projects. Our Faculty of Law and Justice are seeking industry hosts for law and criminology student placements. Our Faculty of Medicine and Health are seeking supervisors and partnerships for population health, exercise science, community pharmacy, and of course, medicine placements. Our Faculty of Science are seeking partnerships for data science, psychology, aviation, physics, chemistry, biology, biomolecular and earth sciences, and in research integrated learning. And UNSW Canberra would like to connect with industry, would like to bring that connection across industry, academia, and government, and deliver lifelong learning opportunities. And they are willing to host industry partners co-located on campus in Canberra. I will now move on to other areas of the universities who are also working with our faculties. We have the Graduate Research School. Please speak to the team about PhD projects and the Employability Research Showcase that will happen towards the middle of the year, if not the end of the year. The UNSW Connections team, who would be working with students from various equity backgrounds. You would have heard about Nuragili, and please speak to our team at Nuragili about the 2025 Indigenous Careers Symposium scheduled in June 2025. We have the UNSW Co-op team who helps attract, train, and develop top young professionals in engineering, business, and data science. And they offer one-off co-op internships in partnership with industry. Our Trailblazer Defense offers micro-credentials in combat systems engineering. And our TRACE team offers 2 micro-credentials for industry in the decarbonization sector, 1 in renewable fuels and 2 in critical minerals. Our UNSW Founders team are also here, and they invite you to join them every first Thursday of the month in the Michael Crouch Innovation Center to hear from leading innovators. And of course, the UNSW Employability team, who you have heard from today, are willing to speak about other projects and programs that we deliver apart from the 3 that was showcased today. In short, the opportunities are endless at UNSW. So please speak to Team UNSW. And before we close today's event, please join me in thanking again all our speakers, Leah, Caroline, Remy, Carmen, Tom, Nick, and Alice. Also of course, our industry partners in the programs, Nikki, Drashti, Shehan, thank you, Gary, Andreas, Jason, and Gautam. Thank you all for joining us today. Please reach out to Team UNSW outside. You would find them across the floor. Grab some more food, coffee, tea, and network. Speak to us. And thank you all again for joining us today. We look forward to talking to you, and we look forward to working with you in the future. Enjoy the rest of your Wednesday, and see you all at UNSW. Have a great day.